Week 1 is kind of in the books here for Big Brother 26, and the power rankings are here to come and to be, power ranked. And I gotta say, there's some people I got right on my initial gut feeling, there's some people I got wrong, and then there's the case of my winner pick. And without further ado, it's time for Big Brother 26 Power Rankings here on Josh Does Movies. Before I start too much, though, I want to thank you guys. I've been getting a lot of subscribers this last week for the Big Brother coverage between the live streams, my, short review, my short live feed updates, as well as videos like this that come out every Tuesday and Friday. I just want to say anybody who's checked in, I thank you very much, and I appreciate that on my road to 500. But talking about my winner pick finally, at number 16 this week, he was last week's top overall preseason power ranker. It is Matt. Matt is not only on the block, I have seen him make the most obnoxious, stupid plays I've seen a player have in a long time. And, I guess since Jag. But Jag won, so I had some hope. And maybe there's still hope for Matt if he somehow gets out of the AI comp this week. But if Matt's one of the two people on the eviction landing this week, he's going to be evicted. And I can't blame anybody for wanting to evict him. This is a man who went to the HOH, the first HOH, and threatened her with a, hey, if you put me up, I'm going to be safe because everybody loves me and I'm going to come after you and make sure you're out. After she was apologizing and trying to be friendly with him. This is a guy that was so cocky that he has the house on his side that when Angela's apologized and he was like, I'll get somebody to become a replacement, he goes to Tucker and is like, hey, you could be you could be a replacement if she doesn't want to nominate me, and I'm sure you'd be okay with that because you love comps, you're cool, you're a bro, we'd keep you, but yeah. To which we'll go into Tucker later on, but to even today, with Lisa and stuff, just attacking her when they're having conversations in ways he doesn't realize it's attacking her in game sense. He thinks he has this huge group of people around him, but most people want him out of the house because they see him as a potential comp threat, but because he's also very bad at this game. He lets loose his final 2 potential with Tucker, a final 3 with Leia, out in the open to people like Quinn and Chelsea early on. He can't keep secrets pretty much for, the sake of anything. And he's tried playing victim, I think, a little bit too much. And him going out complaining about a public apology not being good enough, I don't think is winning over any favors in the house. Again, he has shown me no sense of game that even if he survives this week, he has any chance of winning. And he is by far the worst actual gamer I've seen in this house. And that's why he goes from number 1 all the way to number 16. Though, some people I'm not wrong about. Kenny is my number 15th rank, up 1 from 16th. And there's a great chance Kenny may be the first boot this week. He was Angela's target and kind of the house consensus target. He hasn't done much gaming at all. He's kind of stapled himself to Matt and calling him his number 1 and his only player. And when Matt is on the block with you, as well as Chemo, and you're calling him your number 1, you're saying, hey, if I want I might want you to vote me out because I feel bad that I'm here missing my daughter's birthday and stuff like that. Kenny is not, and as well as not having game talks with anybody else in the game. I'm sorry, but Kenny is the exact flop that I pegged him as earlier this week, and he's an easy 15th rank. If it wasn't for so many terrible blunders by Matt, I would have easily kept Kenny 16th. But Matt just truly made it just so amazing that he had to take 16. And Kenny here has been nothing but a dud. He might just walk out because he asked people to take him out on Thursday, but I still think the house knows Matt is the bigger threat and will take Matt out even if Kenny asks them to vote him out. But Kenny probably isn't that far behind Matt in the boot order. Number 14 is somebody I had pretty low last week. They dropped a spot, and that's Lisa. There's parts of this week where I liked Lisa being active with gameplay, talking with people, but then she got POV-itis, and apparently, to some people, her cooking isn't good, and they turns her off on it. Going back on the episode, seeing in day 1 and day 2, when after Angela won her first HOH and who people wanted up, Lisa was clearly the person that people were be happy to go up with the most. Her energy doesn't vibe with a lot of people in the house. She has really aggressive conversations one-on-one with a lot of people. And outside of Angela, I think a lot of people will be happy to nominate Lisa next week and just get her out of the house. And I know there's one person in particular who can't stand her and hates her with all of his world. We'll talk about that person here soon. At number 13, down 3 spots from my 10th ranking initially, is Angela. Oh boy, Angela. Where do we start? Angela is way too emotional for this game. And even though she was sleep-deprived and made some sleep-deprived bad decisions, she is so loud and ready to turn on people. She's great for feeds. She's fun for feeds. But she's terrible at this game. People are coming up to her, bringing her in alliances, and she doesn't trust them at all. People are, off-put by the big outburst she had versus Matt. People don't think she's trustworthy. People don't think they could, want to work with her long-term. They see her as an easy boot option in week 2 or something in the future. And she has a lot of work to make up to get herself anywhere higher in the power rankings because it was embarrassing. Like, she's in a bad spot, and her having the terrible game sense and terrible thought process of the idea that Matt had already and Cam had already told Takor, and Takor knew she was going up, and she won't let Takor verify that she didn't know that, and she won't let people like Cedric and stuff tell her they have her back because she doesn't believe it because she believes it's a farce. She has outplayed herself immensely in a very embarrassing first HOH way. And she's not going to make it much longer. She does not have jury potential. She does not have longevity in this game potential. And that is why she's ranked at number 13 right now. Number 12. Another big hit for me because I thought this person would pair up and there'd be kind of that good-looking people alliance, Broby type alliance. And she tag along with that, but that never came to be, and that's Mackenzie. Mackenzie or MJ... Her whole game has basically been attached to Matt and making sure people knew that Matt has their back and trying to get people on Matt's side. I think now she's starting to realize that Matt might not stay, so she's maybe branching out her game a little bit. But her game has been so Matt heavy that even if she's not in a showmance with him, she's acting like she's in a showmance with him with how often she's defending him, with how often she's trying to make people feel sorry for him, with how often she's trying to get people to work with him. She is Matt's number one soldier. And she hasn't thought about anything else besides Matt for much of this first week. And because Matt's in such a bad spot, because Kenny is in such a bad spot, who she also was trying to get, be positive for, Mackenzie is way down here at number 12, despite having America's veto, which means she won't go home anytime soon, but it'll be obvious when she gets the veto that she had it, per se. She didn't use it on Matt here, and she may end up regretting that overall. Now, number 11 is a player I thought would play a little bit too hard and get caught quickly, and that's kind of what happened this week, and that's Joseph. I think Joseph can still recover and move up here pretty quick, pretty fast, depending on the bonds that he makes, but major damage happened with both Angela and Matt's this week, where he had two people who were so polar opposite of each other, and he kept trying to force them together to the point where both of them were like, oh, Joseph has to be working with Matt. If you're Angela, or if you're Matt, you're thinking, oh, Joseph has to be working with Angela. And both of them don't really trust Joseph that much, and he had to kind of lay down, play a much quieter game. Maybe now as the vote and the veto has gone through, he can come back and being more social, more game player-like. But he definitely had an overplaying mistake, and there's a real chance if the wrong person wins the next HOH, like a Matt or a Lisa or a Mackenzie, Joseph could go up, and if the wrong people are on the block at the end, Joseph could go home. He has a lot of work to make up to get himself back in a good station. He isn't in any of the core alliances kind of being built right now, and he's kind of on the outside needing to find his way in. His best bond right now is with Tucker, and that isn't exactly somebody who has many big alliance ends at the moment either. So that's why Joseph is number 11 for me. He moved up one spot to 11, but not too excited for his game. Down one spot for me is Cedric. Cedric is definitely cushioned in more core alliances, whether it be the Pentagon, whether it be the Core 4, whether it be Barbershop or the Collective. Cedric's issue, he doesn't know how to play the game, he doesn't know how to follow up with people to make them feel safe and happy, and he has given other people off bad vibes to where he could easily become a nominee early in the season. Even Quinn was trying to explain to him of like, hey, we made this collective, but like, when you don't even follow up with people, I get Angela doesn't trust it, but like, Takor and Chemo do, and when you don't trust them with information and following up with them, they're not going to trust you later on. And I do think something like that with Cedric is going to come back and bite him very soon. I worry that he's going to be an easy target on the wrong week, and the Pentagon will kind of be like, hey, we have to kind of let him go to protect ourselves. And even though I'm from Boise, he's from Boise right now, I'm not exactly thinking he's going to make it long. I think he doesn't understand the game much. He's kind of that young naive. He thinks you can just say something, have something, and that's fine. No, you got to keep building up these bonds. You got to keep building up these game talk and relationships. And Cedric is really missing that outside of like Chelsea. Number 9, Leia. Leia has been building out a little bit with Lisa, building out a little bit with Quinn. Even tonight, she's making connections with Cam. So she's starting to like spread her stuff a little bit away from the Mackenzie and the Matt trio. But a lot of this week was spent with those three and really trying to solidify something with those three. I don't know how much she knows the Barbershop Alliance is fake for a lot of people, but she needs to start building up these connections with both Brooklyn, with probably Chelsea a bit. Takor's a person I think if she talks to, she can try bringing in and distancing herself maybe from the Mackenzies and Lisas of the world, and definitely the Matts, because they're not going to be the power people, and she needs to get herself in more with the Quinns, the Cams, and in that type of a sense. And I think she's realizing that, and that's why she's not as far down as a Mackenzie. But until she starts getting into something more solid, she's kind of going to stay middle of the pack for me overall. Number 8, and kind of moving down a spot, even as I made the power ranking move down a spot, is Takor. She doesn't seem to have a good sense of the house, but the house seems to be okay with her at the moment. Obviously, Matt kind of wanted Takor to go up as a pawn and felt like she's not playing much of a game, but she has great connections with Cam, with Cedric, with Chelsea. I think she has a great connection with Chemo. With that, I think she can build good connections out with a couple other people throughout the house. And she's being attentive and asking the right questions. So many people in this house aren't asking questions and aren't coming up with plans on how to move things along. They're saying things should be the case, but they aren't following up and having it happen. And even though Takor might not know the house landscape, I've at least seen her kind of want to say like, hey, we should get this plan in motion and solidify this, because if we don't, it might not happen. And there's a lot of people in this house, I think, that don't have that sense of game and sense of idea. But Takor is not knowing much about the game and not being anything too cohesive at the moment is what keeps her down to number 8 for me. She was my 3rd pick last week, so she's fallen down quite a bit. But I think if she gets in the right alliance, she has the mind for this game and she understands how to push things forward. Unlike some people in here that I think I've seen people high on, but but I think are lacking the actual like knowledge on how to get things going and moving in the game. They have the right ideas, but they don't know what they're doing. The only person who's in the exact spot I ranked them in week 1, Rabina, number 7. I think Rabina has some good bonds with Brooklyn. I think she has some decent bonds with Chelsea. She's somebody I think could rock with Takor and Chemo. She has a great bond with Tucker. She isn't on anybody's radar. She's very sociable, but she isn't involved too much with game talk at the moment. And maybe as that comes, Rabina can move up this power ranking, but at the moment, she's kind of playing a more floatery type role. Though I do think she had a beef earlier today with Leia, so we'll see where that goes in the future. But she's definitely just middle of the pack safe. If things goes her way and she has the right people around her and she can make it towards the end game, I don't think she has the biggest chance of winning, just seeing how she's playing the game now. But things can change and she can make power moves middle later the game and develop really good social bonds that have her later on. But at the moment, she's kind of like middle of the pack safe. She's not at risk of going home soon, but she's not exactly in the best position to make it to the end game and win. Number 6 is my favorite player in the entire house, and that's Tucker. Tucker is an amazing actor with people. He is snowing people left, right, and center. So much so that it's going to have to catch up with him at some point because he's doing it out in the front of so many people. He has Matt believing that he was volunteering to go up as a pawn, and he's upset that Angela didn't do it, while having the biggest hate boner out of anybody in the house for Matt, even more than Angela. He has this amazing one-sided beef with Lisa about cooking and stuff like that. But he has shown ability, I think, to understand that you need to be good with people and make people believe you're on their side, even if you aren't. And he's putting that work in with people like Mackenzie, with Matt, with Lisa, and even like Kenny, for instance, so that like if Matt goes home, he's gonna be people will believe him when he says, "Man, I would have voted for Matt to stay, but the house, they wanted him out, so I really couldn't do anything, so..." And then go into another room with Chemo and Quinn and be like, "I cannot believe that they think I would have kept Matt in this house. No! He had to go. He had to go." So we'll see eventually if this being so vocally opposed to people will people will clock on to his attitude type, but he is so fun to watch, and as the game goes on, if he's able to continue these relationships and build honest trust long enough, I think he could potentially miss people into thinking that anybody who's telling him this stuff about Tucker, they're lying. Tucker's on my side. There's no way he's acting like that without us around. And that's where I think his endgame winning potential comes. But he's doing so much amazing lying that I just have to think it's going to catch up. And that's why I have him at number 6, because it has to catch up. But if it doesn't, man, we're in for a treat of the season and a treat of a player here with Tucker. He has the potential to be the best Big Brother winner since maybe even Dan Giesling himself. If he can keep pulling off all the snowing of people every single day. I don't think he can, but man, is it impressive. Surprising me moving up 9 spots because I don't think he's played the best game is Chemo. Why do I have Chemo ranked so highly? He's been getting a ton of information in this game, and he hasn't been spilling it poorly out. He knew everybody was talking about Takor going up on the block last night, and yet he knew already he talked to Tucker and Angela that Matt was going up, and he didn't spill that info at all. He kind of let it be a fair blindside with blood off his hands. He knows about Quinn's power and how Quinn plans to use it. And he's having Tucker come up and be like, "I know Joseph has the power. He has 2 votes. I know it." And he's just like, "Really? That's powerful." Like, he knows where the power is there. And he's holding all this information back, and people are wanting to keep him in the house. And I'm starting to see him build better game relationships and game conversations. And as he keeps gathering this information after information, he has a lot of power in this game. And if he gets settled into this house with all this information, he could eventually offload it at some point to make power plays and power moves and move himself up in this house. I don't know if he has that potential yet, but with all the information that he has and the amount of people wanting to keep him here this week, I don't know. It's a lot. And again, this power ranking might not reflect his gameplay purely, but something he's doing is put himself around a lot of people who have a lot of information, and he's gobbling it up without telling that many people. And I think that's something, if used correctly, is a game-winning type game, or something that could get him far and get him in a very good position in this game. Number 4, Chelsea. I was alluding to the idea that some people out there are calling Chelsea the best game player. She's the smartest game player, all this stuff. And while she has good ideas and good reads, how she actually puts anything into effect is her issue. And she's so vocal about some of her reads and kind of making comments and appearing to be smart around people that there's no way in hell I think Chelsea is going to sniff the final 2 in a lot of different ways. She needs a lot to go her way. But there's so many times she's like, "I can't believe this is happening. We need this to happen. I can't believe that's happening. We need that. We need something else to happen." And it's like she's making no effort to change anything about it per se, and she's not good at hiding her feelings on things. Cedric is definitely more into the idea of the barbershop with Matt. Chelsea can't help but shut it down. And even though I think a lot of us will call that the smart play, being so vocal about it and being so like upfront and obtuse about it, I think will just lend her as the game goes on she's the vocal person making decisions. We need to cut her out towards the end game or towards the mid game. And that's my issue there with Chelsea. She's very vocal, but she's not acting on stuff. We are here, she's checking up with Brooklyn a lot. She's checking up with Cedric a lot, and sometimes Joseph. But outside of those three, she doesn't have very many good game conversations with him. She isn't trying to build game conversations. She knew T-Core was a potential nominee and was like kind of thinking it could be true. And T-Core was up there like, do you know anything about the nominations tomorrow? And like, she didn't spill. And T-Core has already clocked the idea of like, well, Chelsea probably knew I was going to go up. Cam probably knew I was going up. So maybe I can't trust them that much. And I just think that as good as ideas she has, her applications of these ideas have not really happened, and that's why I can't rank her too highly, because I see her as the person who talks a lot, but doesn't apply and make her plan go into place. And so she isn't building these bonds out well enough so that when it comes time, they're going to pick her out as the brainy person you can't take to the end, and she's going to skedaddle out of here, I think, mid-game pretty easily. Number 3, and somebody who might have been number 1 for me if he didn't open his goddamn mouth about his power, is Quinn. He moved up 2 spots from number 5 to number 3. He is well-liked throughout almost the whole entire house. People want to include him in a lot of information. He has a severely overpowered deepfake HOH. And if he didn't tell Angela and he didn't tell Chemo about it, easy number 1 for me this week. Unfortunately, he's blabbing at least to 2 people about this power. We don't know if he's blabbed any more about this power. He's definitely on the outside of the Pentagon Alliance. He's probably number 5. I think he might realize that. But you can't be telling people your secrets like this, Quinn. Because if you do a doppelganger HOH and you do something that puts Angela up, she's going to tell the whole house it's you anyway. So, yeah, Quinn, you set yourself up potential for Dookie there. You really did. And if you can get past this doppelganger HOH, and maybe it's best if you don't even use it, you can move yourself higher and get to number 2 and number 1 late game. But man, telling people about that power means if it comes out, people might be able to figure out it's you if you've wronged the wrong person. So that's why Quinn's at number 3 and not higher for me. He has all the social game elements down, but he just talks too much. Still a strong 3rd. Number 2 with the highest amount moving, kind of the anti-Matt, is Brooklyn. I did not think Brooklyn was going to be able to get infiltrated in this house so much, but she absolutely has. Unlike Chelsea, who talks big plans and doesn't really build the social bonds out, Brooklyn has. She has had great bonds with Rubina. She has great bonds with Chelsea, great bonds with Leia, great bonds with Lisa, decent bonds with Mackenzie. She had a decent bond with Angela. I don't know if Angela knows how much that bond got broken, but if she doesn't realize that, she has a good bond with Angela. She kind of had a good bond with Matt and Kenny. I think that Brooklyn just has a lot of good social bonds. She's in the Pentagon 5 and probably the safest person outside of one other in that Pentagon 5. And she's smart and understanding the gameplay and making moves. And again, is having these good conversations with other people to make sure they're on the same page and they can trust her. This is what separates Brooklyn from me from Chelsea, is Brooklyn is having better game conversations and building better trust with people outside just the basic core, where Chelsea ain't able to do that. And yeah, I'm just very impressed with Brooklyn's gameplay. She's nestled herself in safely in the house. I don't see her being a target anytime soon from any side. And I think she has a good chance comp-wise and stuff getting into the late game and pulling something off. Her social game's on point. Her strategic game seems to be on point. And everybody is including her in stuff when they can. So Brooklyn, number 2, is a strong number 2 this week. I think number 1 and number 2 are clearly ahead of the others. From 3 down, it's a pretty significant gap for me in terms of where they're at in the game. And that leaves number 1, my number 2 ranked person. I should have ranked number 1, Cam. Cam is not playing much of a game right now, which with this house is perfectly fine. But what Cam is doing is smiling, being friendly, knowing that we need Matt out, knowing that things have to happen, feeding off people's energy. and just being well liked and included in everything. He's not the one making decisions, so people aren't gonna, nobody thinks he's making decisions, so people aren't gonna point to Cam as the person that is is a rat or a mole. He has the good personality and just the conversational skills to hold up with anybody in the house and make people trust him. He understands the game and the different power dynamics and what people have pretty well. As somebody who hasn't watched the game overall, I think he has that strategic handling on it. And he's just somebody, despite, as the late game comes, he's that athletic person that could comp out and win at the end. And he has a lot of Xavier qualities, I find. And he's somebody that I see Chelsea rocking with for too long. He's somebody I see Brooklyn rocking with for too long. Definitely Cedric would rock with them too long. He's gonna get to the final two, and he's gonna get to like the final five and find a way to comp himself out, make final two. And people are going to be like, we loved you, Cam. You played a great social game. You won the comps at the end. Here's your check. We'll see how long this can hold up. But Cam, to me, is far and away the best player in the game, power-wise, intentionally or not. And he is in the best spot in the house. He has the bros that ready to bro down with him. He has the woman ready to, to be, have him be there with them. He has good relationships with everybody, top to bottom. Everybody likes Cam. Nobody distrusts Cam. Cam isn't giving them any reason to distrust them. And he's not out there making decisions, so people can't point at him as a person who's making these decisions. So, yeah, he might be number 2 last week. He's number 1 this week, and we'll see if he can keep up the spot. But these are my BB26 Week 1 power rankings. So tell me yours in the comments here. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? I look forward to seeing that, and be ready for the live stream of Wednesday's episode where we go over the fight and more here at 6:45 p.m. my time, 8:45 East Coast time, 5:45 Pacific time, as well as maybe other live streams that happen throughout this week. Thank you all for watching, and yep, let's go enjoy some Big Brother's live feeds the rest of the night.